is What If Deku was El Diablo from the TC universe, part 1. Now guys, after this video, I will be uploading What If Deku was Cable, and then I'll be uploading What if Irma had the Omnitrix, and I am going to be uploading What If, Prince Colin from Dragon Prince had the Omnitrix, and then I'm going to be uploading What If, what was it? I think it was What If Deku was a Greek Legend Part 2, and What If Deku had the Ultimatrix Part 2. So yeah, let's get ready and get started into the video, guys. So basically, this video, or this story, starts off with Deku being abused. Off the bat, just abused as a child. And basically, Deku's parents would actually be pro-heroes in this universe, but they wouldn't be like popular pro-heroes, just be pro-heroes, like, you know, the average pro-hero that some people like, some people are fans of. So basically, they would have some merch, but like, in the merch, kind of like a Legos, but like nothing like big, like an action figure, or like a logo, or like a sticker, or anything like that. So yeah, so basically, they would have been pretty okay pro-heroes. Now, Iko's quirk would just be full-on telekinesis, but yeah. So basically, Deku was born into the Izuku family, and Asashi was super happy when Deku was born, and well, his eyes, he obviously thought Deku would have a quirk, since both of his parents had quirks. So, they went to the quirk doctor when Deku was 10, and Deku's whole life was prepped to be a hero. He was taught all the laws, he was taught the best education he can get, and Deku was very smart for a 5-year-old. Deku was also kind of arrogant to a point of Bakugo's level, but that would all be shut down when Deku, basically, is told that he's quirkless. Now, Sashi and Inko had the iconic anime disappointed faces, pretty much having their eyes blacked out, and them not looking at each other or Deku. Basically, the quirk doctor saying that Deku was quirkless. I'm sorry, Sashi and Inko and Midori. Pretty much they say you don't have to be sorry. Pretty much grabbing Deku and pulling him out of the room with so much ferocity and hate towards their movements. Now they get to the house, and Deku immediately starts getting punished for just being born this way. Deku was told that he's going to be nothing, and that we wasted all our time raising you for what? You're just a pathetic little quirkless boy that we wasted 5 years of our life raising. Pretty much them contemplating on putting Deku for adoption, but they hear news about, them picking up their kid for adoption, they're probably going to get bad rep for being, cruel towards their kids or their child. So they secretly treat Deku in public, if they have to, nicely. But when they're behind closed doors, or when they're not even around Deku, they don't even... Some of the times, they even forget Deku's name. Azuka Midoriya. Some of them say Iko, or, Mia, or something like that. So this is a completely different name, and pretty much just doesn't like Deku. Now, eventually, about a couple of years after Deku was born, they actually start contemplating on about adopting another child. So they do. They adopt another child, mainly for their quirk, and they adopt a child that looks, uncannily like Deku, but just a female with a pyrokinesis quirk. So they adopt that child and treat that child more better than their actual biological son. So, yeah, so this adopted child would be Azuki, Deku's older sister. Now, she would be about 16 by the time Deku's 15. But Deku would be basically grown up as kind of an anger, or like a rep, or like some sort of gangster of some sorts. Because Deku would snap after his parents started treating, Izuki like Izuki was their actual biological daughter. And they actually did put her and did a couple legal laws to actually delete all of the whole entire adopted stuff and actually legally make her technically their legal biological son. And they're about to try to say that Deku was adopted and is Inkyu, or what was it? Sorry, guys. Deku's sister, quote unquote sister, or adopted sister, was their real son, but they didn't go that far. They just didn't like Deku at all, and they barely even talked to Deku. Deku was always in his room, and even when Deku went downstairs to get food, his parents didn't even look at him and just started talking to Azuki like Deku wasn't even alive or even there. And so half the time they forgot to buy food for Deku because they didn't even know, or they didn't even care about him. And most of the time, they legitimately forgot about him. So Deku was automatically heartbroken just because he didn't have a quirk. He was treated like nothing, even by his own parents that raised him for 5 years with so much help, so much love. Now Deku dedicated his life into pretty much becoming better than anybody, and Deku didn't take pretty much anything from anybody. Now Deku was about, let's say, 13 when he started to get like super bullied by Bakugo. Bakugo kept on starting to bully Deku physically, more physically than he was already, throwing explosions pretty hard at Deku. Deku had enough at that point and threw a punch at Bakugo's face, landing it, making Bakugo fall into the ground. Bakugo got super angry, getting back up and joining, pretty much joining up with his gang to pretty much jump Deku. Now Deku was jumped, and the teachers didn't even care because he was quirkless and he deserved not. He deserved to get beat up because he tried to fight back against somebody that was obviously stronger than him. So basically, Deku was you get the gist. Deku was pretty much treated like nothing. But when Deku was about let's say 15, Azuki would be 16. Deku would be about 15, and this would be about 2 years before the end of the school year. Now we skip about a couple months after Deku turns 15, and Deku doesn't have any birthdays anymore. Most of the time, his parents just give Deku like $50 to go somewhere for his birthday, and that's basically it. They don't even care how old Deku even gets. Like honestly, so pretty much Deku starts using that money and saving it up each birthday, not using it at all, having enough money to actually get enough money to move out. Deku was about, let's say, about like enough money to buy 3 houses and keep them and pay rent with them for about 10 years. So Deku has a pretty good amount of money saved up. And it's different quantities of money he gets each year of his birthday. So Deku gets about a lot of money. And he saves it up, not using any of it, until the day he wants to move out. So Deku pretty much was about, let's say, 16. And Deku would be walking down the street, basically minding his own business after a day of him kind of pissing off his dad, and his dad yelling at Deku as telling him that he's worthless and we should have never gave birth to you, blah blah blah. Pretty much Deku was walking down the street, looking around, and heard pretty much a woman getting beat up, and this woman would have been a what was it? This woman would have been none other than let's say this woman would be Miyatsume. Miyatsume would get beaten up in the hall or in the alleyway, pretty much just getting jumped. Pretty much them just jumping him just because he's just being total thugs. Deku said to lay off of her and to get off of her. Pretty much Deku still trying to be a hero, but Deku instantly regretting it when they jump onto Deku and start beating him up too. Not even talking to him, just scrapping with him. Pretty much Deku tried to fight off of them for about 10 minutes, but eventually just get pummeled to the ground, coughing up pretty much pints of what was it? Coughing up gallons of blood. Deku eventually was left on the ground bleeding out by the thugs, and they did take Deku's wallet and money that he had on him, but like most of the time, his money was, in a safe in the house. So Deku didn't really have that much money on him. He just had like $20 on him each day. So basically, Deku got stolen, or Deku's stuff got stolen, and Hiyatsume said, "Are you okay?" Deku getting angry, saying, "Leave me alone," and then get away from me. Deku getting up, coughing up a little bit of blood, and Hiyatsume saying, "Want me to call the ambulance?" Deku says, "No, they probably won't even treat me since I'm quirkless." Hiyatsume says, "Well, I pretty much he says, I know you have a quirk. Look at you. You have a UA outfit on. Get on my face. Pretty much at this point, it would actually be the entrance exams, actually, guys. So, pretty much, me, Hatsume, would already get into the entrance exams, having another kind of exam for the whole entire, um, support course. So basically, Deku would have gotten up after me left and coughed up more blood, looking around, saying, why has it always been me treated like nothing? Why has it always been me? I've never had anything in this life. I hate my life. Pretty much Deku, looking up, still on the ground, coughing up blood, and Deku's vision started to blur out and him going unconscious, and this would be Deku dying. Deku would be in the spirit world walking around, pretty much looking around, seeing kind of like a spirit of the land of the dead type of area where Deku would be at. Deku would be walking around, but getting stopped by an invisible wall, and Deku would be meted by a skeleton-like demon man. Pretty much this man looking like a skeleton, but with fire all around its body. And this man wearing a black cloak like the Grim Reaper. Now, pretty much this man would have told Deku that you're not done in the mortal realm yet. Deku saying, what do you mean? And him saying that you need to stay in the mortal realm. And I'm giving you a choice to become better than you were in your last life. And to come back as a ruling court person. Pretty much Deku says, I don't want a quirk. And the demon says, I'm not exactly giving you a quote-unquote judicial quirk. I'm giving you power from another world. I'm giving you power from the underworld, and well, hell, you're gonna be, well, given the power of El Diablo. Deku says, what do you mean I'm gonna have the power of the devil? And pretty much, he says, no, 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 no. El Diablo is very different from the devil. A very powerful demon, but very, very, very powerful, by the same level as Satan or Lucifer. But just that he doesn't have all the abilities as Lucifer, and isn't really technically immortal. Holy items can still hurt him and kill him. The devil is, hurtful towards some of them, but not fully. Basically, Deku says, why should I, say yes to this? Pretty much the Grim Reaper, or this man, pretty much saying that you can't turn down this offer. You're not dead yet. You're only halfway there. Take the power. You can show everybody in the past world or in the human world to basically, well, show them your wrongs cannot be undone. Deku's confused, saying, what are you saying? You're speaking in tones right now. The man says, sorry, I'm getting off a track. Basically just explain quickly to Deku that, well, to be honest, your your body will absorb the power of El Diablo, the full power of El Diablo, giving you immortality, powers beyond any capabilities, but you still being able to die, just you not being able to age. So basically, Deku says, okay, and the man says, so, in this world, you'll be able to take the lives of those that have done evil, and know that they have done evil. Deku, pretty much having most of the abilities as Ghost Rider, being able to regenerate to a certain extent, not being able to regenerate like from a freaking decapitation or like a stab wound, but being able to regenerate from a bullet or like some sort of pretty much punch to the face that was, came from, I don't know, Kirishima or Tetsu. Pretty much Deku can regenerate his skin pretty fast with fire abilities, with his fire power. Now Deku had, and let's skim through all of El Diablo's powers. Now El Diablo has fire manipulation, obviously. He also has transformation abilities, basically being able to transform into a giant voodoo type skeleton-like creature absorbed in the flames. Kind of like the same creature that you've seen or you saw in the Suicide movie, if you've seen the Suicide movie, the first one. So I'm actually super angry that they didn't bring El Diablo in the second or the new rebooted, pretty much Suicide Squad, but I'm not really, talking about that right now. So basically, Deku will have all the abilities as El Diablo, plus about, let's say, he'll have the ability of other fire manipulations, where he can absorb and he can absorb other people's flames, but also make his own fire. Basically, if somebody like Dobby or somebody like Endeavor shoot flames at Deku, Deku can absorb it and shoot it right back at Endeavor or Dobby. So yeah, so basically, Deku would have gotten, would have woken up in the alleyway with all of his blood gone and back into his body, and Deku's wounds completely healed. Deku would have gotten back up, looking around, saying, "Was that a dream?" Looking at Deku's hand, Deku seeing skeleton or bones, his pretty much his hand healing up, seeing just, his normal hand again. Deku being kind of confused. Deku gets up, hearing a voice in his head, and this voice would be the Grim Reaper. Now that man Deku was talking to was basically just Grim Reaper, but with fire. Basically, the Grim Reaper was telling Deku about all of his abilities, about fire manipulation, and all sorts of other stuff. So, Deku pretty much got ready and got started. Deku would have gone back home, pretty much with his, clothes ripped up and bloody. Deku just wearing, his school uniform, but it was all, bloody and ripped up. Deku would have walked into his room, grabbing all of his money, sneaking out from the window, basically going on his own and buying an apartment. Now, this apartment, now that it's right here, Deku wouldn't really buy an apartment. Deku would buy a old warehouse. Now, this old warehouse would be some sort of old, ran down Walmart, like way in the forest. And that forest used to be pretty much a place or like a parking lot, but like there was some sort of hero fight there, and the whole place was demolished, except for the Walmart. Basically, just the whole entire place demolished, and it being pretty much consumed with plants and stuff. So Deku would have taken this warehouse and brought it back to life, using his money to bring it back to life, and hiring crews to fix it up. Deku seeing this pretty much warehouse turn into some sort of mansion type of stuff, and Deku pretty much thinking to himself that this can be something good. But Deku thinks to himself that he has a lot more money left up and says, "I can't really live here at this warehouse." So Deku uses the rest of his money to buy a cabin, kind of like a mansion type cabin, way farther into the forest, away from the warehouse. So now this would be Deku's quote unquote cabin mansion. Now Deku would have walked in there, pretty much looking around, actually buying the furniture or the fake furniture, like the display furniture there, with the house. So Deku would have pretty much lived there, and buying some posters, stuff like that to make it more homey. Also taking the stuff from his old room and moving it in. Pretty much telling his parents and his quote unquote sister that I'm moving out. His sister stopping Deku saying, "So why are you leaving?" Deku automatically just getting angry, slapping his hand, no, moving his hand, slapping her hand away from him, saying, "Why am I moving? Why am I leaving? You should have seen the way you looked at me. You looked at me with disgust when you found out I was quirkless. Mom and Dad don't even love me. And plus, you bullied me with Bakugo. You're literally the worst sister in the world. And you're asking me why am I leaving? I'm leaving because I want to leave the demons that I live with." Basically, Azuki says, "What do you call me? What did you just call me?" Pretty much Deku says, "I called you a demon." Azuki seeing a red glow coming from Deku's eyes. Deku walking off and his clothes smoking. Deku would have gone back to the cabin, and basically, Deku would have laid there in the living room of the cabin on his couch, just contemplating about his life, and Deku looking around, seeing a skeleton man right in front of him. Deku being confused. The Grim Reaper says, "I'm here again, ain't I? What are you doing with your power so far?" Deku gets up and says, "Haven't done anything with it yet. I don't even know how to use it." Pretty much the Grim Reaper says, "Well, it's mainly focused on your emotions. When you're angry, it becomes stronger. When you're sad, it becomes more of icy type quirk, or some sort of blue flames, is mainly focused on your willpower. But it can work the same way a quirk can. It just has to be focused on your will to do what you want to do. Pretty much, Deku says, so what do you want me to do exactly? You take down villains, blah blah blah. Pretty much, the Grim Reaper says, I don't want you to do anything. You can do whatever you want. Whatever you desire. Just just make a deal with me for this power. If you see a man with a, if you see a man with a black mask and a black suit, kill him. He's the worst of the worst, and he needs to come down to hell and be punished for the things he's done. Deku says, who's this, you know, man? Pretty much, Deku is told by the Grim Reaper saying that you'll eventually come cross paths with him. But for now, do what you want to do. Become a villain, a hero, doesn't really matter. Just at one point, please, take him out. And if you're at it, take out his followers too. Pretty much Grim Reaper teleporting away in a black fog. Deku looking around, coughing up the fog a little bit, saying, what the heck was that? Deku looking around, just shrugging it off, going in the back of the cabin, or the backyard of the cabin, looking at his hands, saying, let's try this out. Deku pinning his hands out, pretty much saying, let's do this, pinning it out more, pushing nothing in the air, shooting multiple flames and fireballs out of his hands. Deku was super, pretty much shocked, but also very happy that he had some sort of power now. So basically, Deku started tricking with it, pretty much playing with it, making fire constructs and a fire, pretty much crown, also the other fire constructs and pretty much statues. Deku eventually making a fire sword and also the other stuff. Deku also seeing that his hands, when he pushed his flames to the highest, started to become bone-like or Ghost Rider-like, but them going complete normal after Deku stopped using his quirk. So Deku thinks maybe this is some sort of, of the bone, demon that the Grim Reaper told me about that's in me now. Pretty much Deku starts trying to bring it out, pushing all the flames in his body outwards, all from his chest, legs, and arms and his head, trying to transform into that bone demon. Deku succeeding halfway, just with all of his bones turning into like a Ghost Rider type of thing, but not becoming the actual El Diablo spirit. Deku just being sad, but also disappointed that he can't do it yet. But Deku just shrugs it off, releases his power, and goes back to the cabin, sleeping there, and waking up the next morning. Deku would have waked up, looking around, saying there's nothing I can really do. Pretty much looking around, seeing that, him knowing that the school's over, and it's only about 9 more months until the entrance exams and the entrance exam starts. So Deku doesn't have any, and I mean has no, pretty much, desire to become a pro hero because Deku is actually going to become a villain. This is the villain version if you haven't read the title. So basically, Deku would be pretty much looking around in the forest and saying that maybe I should start my empire. Deku thinking about last night, Deku was contemplating about should I become some sort of lord or crime lord. Deku saying maybe I should. Now Deku would started his crime lord business, basically climbing up the ranks and also taking down other pretty much crime lords, like a couple other unnameable crime lords that would be easily taken out by Deku, and him taking their organizations one by one, merging them together, making a huge organization, calling them the El Diablos. Basically, Deku would have became a very, very popular type of pretty much villain gang. And also, Deku would have been very popular with the heroes. The heroes trying to track down Deku's main, pretty much, place of operations. But that main place of operations being right at the, what was it? It was main base of operations being right at the warehouse Deku bought. Though, pretty much Deku would be smuggling money and a couple other stuff, getting a lot of money for it, and becoming a like a super powerful crime lord. Now, eventually, Deku would have been solved by pretty much a League of Villains. League of Villains seeing this pretty much newcomer, saying that he's very strong. Pretty much, uh, pretty much, pretty much in this universe, I'm gonna be ginger swapping some League of Villain characters now. Dobby will actually be a female. Dobby will eventually, pretty much nothing would really happen in Dobby's story that would be different, since Dobby's gonna be a female. Dobby would still be driven away by her father, and she would have still left, you know, Endeavor's house and left Todoroki and be on her own for a few times, but she would hear about El Diablo after her, becoming a villain. So she would try to track him down, and she would actually succeed, having a little bit of more intel because she would be a villain and people would give her information more lightly. So basically, she would eventually come across El Diablo's warehouse, and El Diablo will barely even be there. Mostly, he would send his right hand man there most of the time to check out everything to see if everything was good. His right hand man heard tell about Dobby, and pretty much told El Diablo or Deku, and pretty much no one really knew Deku's real name. They always addressed him as El Diablo or El. Basically, Deku said to send her over to my cabin, and basically he would send Dobby to, Deku's house. Now, Dobby would have walked into Deku's house, looking around, saying, "This is pretty big." Pretty much Deku opening the front door, saying to come in. Deku pretty much pinning her down to the ground, saying, "Why are you here?" Him powering up a fireball. She would be powering up one, two, saying that I'm just here to talk. Deku getting up, saying, "What do you want to talk about?" She getting up getting, after, she getting pinned down to the ground by Deku. Basically, Deku would have told her, "I'm telling you again, and I won't ask, the third time, why are you here?" She would explain to Deku that I'm here to join your organization. I've been on my, own as a villain for a pretty long time, and I think that we might have, a business going, because we both have kind of the same quirk. Pretty much Deku saying, "What's your quirk? Cremation, I guess?" Because all the people you come across are all cremated and turned into ash. Pretty much Deku would have said, "That's child's play for my type of power." Pretty much Deku looking around and her getting angry saying, "Child's play. My quirk is extremely powerful." Pretty much Deku saying, "Can you do this?" Him shooting a fireball right at Dobby, shooting her out of the window, knocking her out. She would wake up a couple minutes later on the couch, her looking around seeing Deku drinking some alcohol, pretty much looking at her, saying, "So, why are you here yet again?" She would say, "I'm here to join your organization," and blah blah blah, talking about her family, all that other stuff. So Deku would have said, "Fine, you can join my organization if you want to." Pretty much him helping Dobby off of the couch, and her saying, "So what now?" Him saying, "I have a spare room upstairs." Scratch, I have a spare room downstairs because I don't want you to be upstairs. Because, well, I don't trust you. So basically, she'd be going upstairs and saying, "So where's the spare room?" Deku looking around, seeing multiple rooms, seeing rooms with antiques, pictures, money, like a whole room with just stacks of money in it. Deku would have pointed to the room at the bottom of the hallway in the pretty much upstairs, saying that is your room. Pretty much saying to keep quiet and to shut up if anybody, you know, asks you anything. Pretty much she being kind of confused, saying, "What do you mean shut up?" Him saying, "Well, I'm saying shut up because I don't want to hear a stupid voice in the middle of the night." So basically, he would go downstairs watching some TV, but also counting up some money, saying that this organization is going pretty well. Now, Deku didn't really desire anything about taking down All Might. He just wanted to become very powerful so he can shove it right in his family's faces. Him despising heroes because his family treated him like nothing. Just because he was quirkless. So basically, Deku would have would have eventually be told by Dobby about the League of Villains. After Dobby did wander off and left Deku's house, pretty much joining the League of Villains, but also telling Deku about this whole entire, thing, trying to make him join. Now, Deku would have told Dobby that I'm not really gonna join. Why should I join? What are they even doing? Pretty much, she can explain about they're trying to take down the hero organization and the heroes, pretty much all their other, stuff, blah, blah, blah. Talking about the same thing the League of Villains stand for. So basically, Deku would have talked about it and thought about it more and more, saying that this is a pretty good idea. Where are they? Pretty much Dobby taking him to the warehouse or the place. Basically, Deku and female Dobby would have walked to the pretty much League of Villains, and well, I didn't really tap into this more, but Dobby would still have the same personality, like as in male Dobby. Basically, her being kind of cold towards anybody, especially Deku. Basically, her hearing tell about Deku, but also her kind of having some sort of feeling towards Deku because just because the ship. So basically, Deku would have walked to the League of Villains, being escorted there by pretty much Shigaraki's left-hand man, a shadow court guy. Don't really know his name, but go down in the comments and tell me, please. So basically, Deku and Dobby would have walked downstairs of the League of Villains, and pretty much they would be told about, their plan against All Might and the pretty much students at UA. Deku hearing and having a flashback about him overhearing pretty much a conversation between his parents saying that, Izuki's gonna go to UA. Pretty much Deku having kind of like a smirk on his face saying maybe I can have my chance to rub it in Izuki's face. So Deku, at this point, I didn't explain how Deku would look like at this time. Now Deku would have dyed his hair black, and Deku would also have have a skull tattoo on his chest, and have a dragon tattoo on his left arm, all the way down to his shoulder, all the way up to his shoulder. So Deku would also have multiple tattoos on his right shoulder, basically them being crosses and all sorts of other pretty much symbols. And Deku would have pretty much had a bunch of other tattoos, like the same tattoos as that Diablo has, except for the face tattoos. Okay, Deku doesn't have those because So basically, Deku would basically no, what's scratchy. Deku would have the same face tattoos, just with black hair, and basically, yeah. So Deku would have the same tattoos as El Diablo, just with him having black hair. So Deku would have gotten pretty much dressed up kind of the same way El Diablo has his outfit or his fit on, the same fit as El Diablo in the Suicide Squad movie. Basically, Deku would have gotten ready and would tell them, let's get started. So, and when we skip to the USJ, pretty much the villains still pretty much flood UA, but Deku would have arrived there with Dobby, because Dobby and Deku would have gone there pretty much a lot faster than, pretty much, what was it, pretty much, what was it? When they arrived to the USJ, Deku would be wearing something very different. He would be wearing his villain outfit. This villain outfit would be very similar to the El Diablo outfit that El Diablo wears in the comics. Now, basically, Deku would have gotten in his villain costume, this being looking very similar to this, with Deku having no pistols, just with, his hands, just his, fire manipulation, but also him having a whip, pretty much absorbed into flames. He can view objects with his flame powers, kind of like Ghost Rider can. So basically, Deku would have gotten ready and get started. So Deku would have his mask on, and they would get started. So basically, Deku would have gotten ready. Everybody pretty much swarming USJ, but with Ferumi being teleported with Froppy and Mineta, her getting across the docks basically getting stopped by a man and pretty much white and black, this being Deku. Deku would have grabbed her by the throat, saying, "Let's see how strong you are now," throwing her through a whole entire building. El Diablo does have superhuman strength. Pretty much, her not being thrown through like a whole building, just her being thrown through the side of a building. Deku jumping through the hole that he threw, for whom he threw, propelling himself up into the air with fireballs and fire blast. Him flying towards her like the Human Torch type of stuff, and threw multiple fireballs at her while he was landing. Deku started throwing punches left and right towards Fumi dodging most of them, throwing multiple fire attacks at him. Now Fumi had pretty much pyrokinesis, but not, super pyrokinesis, like not on the level of Endeavor, Todoroki, or any other fire user, just average, but pretty much on the same level as Todoroki's type of firepower. So basically, Deku would have started dodging more and more flames, but eventually just started taking them like a champ. Fumi started to realize that the fire wasn't doing anything to this villain. She started punching pretty much Deku grabbing all the punches and throwing her into more rocks and into building walls. Her getting pummeled by Deku taking off his mask, looking at her straight in the eyes, saying, "I want you to know that you will be just an adopted little." Pretty much Deku about to, cuss right in her face and treat her like nothing right then and there, getting stopped by pretty much the Grim Reaper. Grim Reaper stopping time, saying that you can't kill the innocent. Deku getting super angry, saying the innocent? She treated me like dirt. Pretty much Deku getting corrected by pretty much the Grim Reaper, saying that she didn't treat you like dirt. She bullied you, but she didn't treat you and forget about you like your parents did. She always cared about you, but she was worried more. She was more worried about how her parents would think if she was treating you good. She was more afraid of your parents than you were. Deku saying that if she was afraid, why did she not tell me that? Pretty much, I'm saying, if I said it, she's afraid, you dummy. Deku saying doesn't matter. I can just do it without my power. Deku stopped, pretty much restarting time, punching Fumi pretty much near death. The Grim Reaper stopping time again, pushing Deku off of Yumi and saying that's it, teleporting Deku back in the cabin. Deku would have yelled to the top of his lungs saying, "Why are you doing this?" Pretty much the Grim Reaper saying that you can't just kill people that are afraid and that never wanted to be, guilty. Pretty much Deku getting angry saying, "You should never stop me." Pretty much the Grim Reaper saying, "You can go back if you promise not to try to kill your sister again." Deku yelling out saying, "She's not my sister." Pretty much the Grim Reaper goes on to say, "Promise me." Deku promises and he's teleported back to the League of Villains, right about a couple feet away from where the Nomu is beating up All Might at this point. So Deku would be looking around, seeing Fumi in the corner, bruised and beaten, and coughing up some blood. Her still being alive though. So Deku would have took out his fire whip, pretty much whipping All Might and making All Might lose. All Might almost about to die actually. Their plan winning, but them getting stopped by a gunshot, and this gunshot being a pro hero. And the whole entire pro heroes show up and they start fighting the pro villain. They start fighting the villains, and they start taking them out and arresting them. Deku eventually gets away by teleportation or teleporting back to the cabin. And Deku can teleport anywhere the Grim Reaper has. Now Deku teleports back to his penthouse and looks around. So Deku would have looked pretty much back to the fire portal he made, looking around, seeing multiple villains getting captured. Deku closing the portal off when a villain or a couple other pro heroes try to run in the circle to try to capture a villain, or a villain trying to get away with Deku. Now Deku does see Dobby come his way, so he does use his whip to fire or reel in Dobby through the portal and save her only. So Deku closes the portal and pretty much says to Dobby to get up. She says, "I don't need your help," pretty much getting up saying, "We're just partners, we're not, friends." Pretty much him walking off, and her walking upstairs, and Deku pretty much grunting and saying, "That's pretty rude." Him throwing his whip to the ground, and it pretty much is fire distinguishing. after it, left Deku's hand. So Deku took off his pretty much hero costume, him actually being walked on by Dobby. Dobby actually trying to ask Deku a question, opening the door, not really thinking Deku would be undressed, looking straight at Deku's body. Basically, Deku looking at her, and then looking back and forth to each other, her just staring at Deku's, you know what, pretty much her saying, pretty much Deku yelling at her, get out now. Not really embarrassed, but more or less just really angry. So Deku pretty much tells her to get out now, and she closes the door, shutting it tight, running upstairs, pretty much saying, what did I just see? Now, Deku would have pretty much get done, and get dressed up. Deku walking pretty much upstairs saying, what the heck was that about? Pretty much pretty much Dobby saying, I'm sorry, I just wanted to ask you a question. Deku saying, ask me it now. She says, I just forgot about it. Pretty much him saying, what the heck are you even thinking about? Her face just becoming bright red. Even through her, her burnt face. So basically Deku walks off saying, you're just a weirdo. Pretty much walking downstairs, grabbing a drink, and sitting down contemplating, but Deku having an idea to summon the Grim Reaper. Grim Reaper is teleported or summoned, and pretty much the Grim Reaper gets kind of angry, saying I was just in the middle of collecting a soul. Pretty much, Deku says, I need some, I need some advice. Pretty much, I'm gonna leave it off here, guys. So, this video was kind of rushed and not really thought through. That's why I was so, stuttering like that. But yeah, guys, so I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you guys like and subscribe, and as always, guys, have a blessed day. Part 2 will be coming, I don't know, later on if you guys do want a part 2. And basically, part 1 to What If Deku Was Cable is coming out soon. So, guys, let's get ready. Let's just right into it. See you guys later. Bye. Deuces and always, guys, have a blessed day. Bye.